Dear ECU participants, welcome to week 3. Some students are sending me emails that they can't do discussion 1 and 2, and it's because originally in week 2 I said don't do all your discussion board as one task. Try to do them every weekly. Consistency in producing your output every week works out better for you over the long term. All right, because the students that haven't completed discussion board 1 are now emailing me saying, please, give me an extension so I can complete it. Well, should have been done regularly and every week. This is only for your benefit, for your time management. All right. So conclusion is I have placed discussion 1 and discussion board 2 to be due in by the 30th of July. I know the final assessment is due on the 31st, but for discussion board 1 and 2, I have made them submitted by or due by the 30th of July. So like this, your discussion board 3 is due by the 31st. All right, so please manage your time effectively. Please study regularly. All right. A big thank you to the students that were in class today. I was a little bit late, and I thank them for their patience, their perseverance, and their faith that I would show up in class. So I really appreciate it. Sometimes I get asked to do certain things that run into my time, and so I can't really say no, but something's got to give. So my apologies to everyone, and a big thank to those 3 students who really appreciate them. All right, so what did we do today in class? Well, we talked about design. That's what we were really talking about. And it was a bit all over the place because design is a big thing, right? It's a big task. It's not just designing something, but it's actually a whole strategy of designing. It's a whole process of designing. So that's what we looked at in class, and then we stopped at the activity that I had set out for them. And it was very interesting because we had some modeling and we were able to reconfigure the task. Anyway, more about that later. So a good design question facilitates quality technological learning and therefore is an important aspect of the teaching learning process by Fleer and Jane in 2013, page 83. And this is very interesting or very important because when you are going to be digital design technology teachers, you will need to engage your students in some design technology design make appraise process. So the question is really important because it's either engages the students, it makes them think that it's achievable, or it doesn't, right? So when we look at the design make appraise, right, the pedagogy that best aligns with that kind of teaching or that kind of subject matter is a project or inquiry-based learning, because we want to give the students a project and they have to inquire into the problem, they have to inquire into the solutions, and it's about experimenting with the solution and trying to define a better outcome. So these types of pedagogical approaches allows the student to pose questions and find creative solutions. Okay. Primary school engages students to explore all parts of STEAM in a holistic approach. All right. So we're talking about science, technology, engineering, and math, and arts and math. Right. So and I hope you realize this, that when you are going through the design make appraise, I knew somebody was going to call. Sorry about this. I'm just going to turn off my phone. There you go. The primary school engages students to explore all parts of STEM. And I hope that when you go through the design make appraise, you realize that your project 2 or your second assignment is actually a combination of all of them, of science, technology, engineering, arts and math. If you want arts, you want to decorate your prototype, it's up to you. All right. In the design technology course for students in primary school, the teacher is a facilitator in the exploration of formulating effective design questions. So you assist the students, you guide them, you facilitate, you support them. You don't tell them what to do, right? You just encourage them to consider design questions or design ideas that they may not have thought about. And you encourage them to explore new avenues, right? Or to adapt and improve on their prototype in a different way, or using different approaches, or looking at the prototype from different angles. So you basically facilitate the learning. You don't really teach it. All right. It's really up to the students to decide what's the final prototype gonna be. Think about reading a book. Do we ask questions to check for students' understanding and stimulate their curiosity into the story? The answer is yes. Right? If we read books to early foundation to year 3, for example, potentially year 4, what happens is that the teacher in the classroom is going to read the first page of the story, and then the teacher will pause and ask the students, what do you think is going to happen next? And here we're engaging the students to predict what may happen, right? It's the same with the Design Maker Praise. You basically have a book, but this one has no story. It has the student's decision in it. That's it. And so now you're going to ask questions to engage the students to reflect on what it is that you want to do. You're going to stimulate their curiosity into their own story development, into their own design technology story development. All right. So last week I explained that technology has been around for thousands of years. All right. Humans and beings, animals included, have used technologies to various effects for centuries. All right. For example, the type of technology is a tree, and trees have been around for centuries. They have adapted to new climates. They have adapted to their environment. They have adapted to various animals that have resided on these planets. Nonetheless, a tree is still a tree from thousands of years ago. So it's not new. Okay, we have been designing for a very long time. So let's look at this map here. You might be saying, what is this map? Well, it's a map of the Houston River and Long Island. All right. I think it's a map of New York, if I'm correct. And as you can see, it's a grid pattern. And what happens is that this is a grid pattern and of where people live. So you have offices, you have high rises, you have houses. These are all on this particular grid. Now, where does this grid originate? Because I think if I look on my computer, New York was established in 1625. Hey, I've learned something today. New York was established in 1625. However, this concept is not a new concept. It's not even a 1625 concept, right? The street planning is based on the grid system design dating back to centurions. And please try to think about what are centurions. Centurions were part of the Roman army during the classical antiquity. So it's the Roman army. So it's a very long time ago, right? So design and technology is not something new. It's something that we're going to talk about humans now, that humans have engaged in, with, and through in order to establish processes for living or for assisting each other to live more comfortably. The grid map was created, it's not something that emerged out of America. It's something that was created by the centurion. And the purpose of it is to be able for the army or the cavalry to be able to go through a city to a designated point in the most efficient manner. See, if the streets were going zigzagging all over the place, the army would be slow. But by having straight lines, they can go to the designated point and capture the enemy, or they can do other things such as barricade the city, protect the city, and other things. All right, so that's the origin of the grid mapping. The design informs the user about the designer, so we understand why the centurions did it, but it's not the same reason why the Americans used the grid mapping in the US. Okay. Design and designers have intents. What impact will the design outcome have on its consumers? And this is something that we discussed briefly today. Is like, what is the intent of your design? What is the intent of your product? And what impact is it going to have on the consumer? So the design thinking process is based on a very simple approach, Design Thinking 101, which goes through a process of understanding the issue at hand, exploring options, and materializing the prototype. These are the main phases that the students need to go through while they are going through the design process. As a teacher or future teacher, you need to explain all of this to your students. Say, excuse me, I just needed a sip of drink. All right, so every stage of the Design Thinking 101 is an opportunity to ask questions and to create learning experiences. So there is an issue, and through the whole stage of designing a solution, we can ask questions and we can have reconsideration of what it is that we're going through as a mental activity for designing the final product. Okay. The first stage is to empathize, to create a shared understanding and solution with the user. So a client might come to us and say, I need this particular product designed, right? Can you assist me? So now we need to understand why the user needs to have this product designed. What is the client going to do with that product? What purpose do they think it's going to serve? And what kind of materials do they have in mind? All right, so this is a conversation that occurs with the client. It's understanding the customers, understanding the clients, understanding the issue that we want to address. So we need to empathize with the problem and the need for a solution. Then we define the problem. So when we define the problem, it's not just a problem. It may be a variety of problems, all right? Because some problems escalate upon each other. This problem occurs because this other problem exists. So we need to understand what are the impacts, what are the factors of influence on these particular problems, and there may be other problems that we need to deal with first. Okay. For example, we may want to design a very light portable suitcase. However, the problem is we don't have the material. We don't have the appropriate material that is solid enough and very light to be able to create the suitcase that we want. So we need to create another problem, which is, well, what's better than that material that we would love to have, right? Sometimes a problem is that because the material is non-existent as of yet, and we need to be patient. So therefore, if the material doesn't exist, for the suitcase, we need to consider the solutions. Well, what are the solutions? Well, the solutions is either we reconfigure the idea of a suitcase or we create the material needed. We make it up and we create the combinations of materials to create that solid one-piece material that's going to make the suitcase lighter. Idea. This is a very important one because it says think outside the box. No idea is a bad idea, right? So in your assessment task 2, please read it. Please read the rubric because the rubric clearly explains that you need to push your thinking beyond your capabilities. You need to think of a product that demonstrate your creativity and your innovation in creating a plausible or possible solutions and prototype. So you need to think outside the box. You need to create a great solution, right? So you need to access all of your resources to see what you can do. You need to access all available resources to be able to see what kind of design will be effective. And observe what your users would prefer. All right. So that's the idea. Always think about what your clients want. When you're doing your idea and you're thinking of problems and solutions, you need to think about what would the client or the consumer need and want. Okay, because that's also part of it. And then you're ready to make your first prototype. Now I'm saying you're ready to make your first prototype because there are many reiteration of a prototype. Right. So today in class, this is what happens. This is what I mean that there's maybe the different configuration of a prototype. In class, the students had a task, all right, and they needed to create an enclosure. And so at first, the team created a small enclosure, and then someone said, "Oh, we're gonna make this bigger." No, it's not about making things bigger. Making things bigger is only going to escalate and complicate your original design. So deal with your first design on a small scale. Once you understand how it works, once you understand the structure of your design, then you can amend, you can rectify, you can change, you can modify parts of your prototype to a larger scale, right? But first, understand the problem, understand the requirements, develop an idea on a small scale, and then you're ready to make a prototype on the original small scale. All right? All right. Then once you've made your prototype, as I said, you're going to test it, you're going to appraise it, evaluate, consider new solutions. And the words that go there are synonyms. They're about change, right? It's about adapting, improving, modifying, rectifying. You just want to rectify one small part. You don't have to rectify the whole process. Okay, there's those kinds of adjectives and synonyms that you can use for reviewing, testing, and appraising your product. All right. And then finally, you're ready for the materialization of your product, which is making the outcome real. In this course, in this unit, sorry, we are not going to look at making the product real. However, I want a real prototype. I don't want a picture. I want you to actually create the prototype. All right. Okay, so you need to define the problem, discover the problem, interpretation of many variations, many ideas. You're going to need many experimentations with the design, make, appraise process, evolution of your ideas. Maybe you say, oh, well, this is not really what I had in mind, but if I think about it, I have new options, which is an evolution of your ideas, which might work out better. Then you go through your prototypes and you evaluate your outcome and you have a presentation to your clients. And in this case, you're going to have a presentation to me. You're creating a PowerPoint of your prototype for the benefit of the teacher and the benefit of evaluating your work. Don't forget that you need to push your thinking to its furthest point. All right, so the design brief is important, and what you have as an assignment task too is actually a design brief to some extent. You introduce the theme, the context, you invite the students to join in finding the solutions. You have to engage them, right? If you say something like create a car, well, it's not really engaging. It's not saying much to the students. They're going to create a car. Well, no, I don't really want to. Okay, huh? Well, so you need to make it exciting for the students. You need to give them a real problem. Here's a real problem, which I'm just going to make it up. I don't really sure. The problem is Tesla has developed a new system, a new braking system that actually creates additional sources of electricity. They are asking your team to create that particular brake system that will generate the electricity, because it's an electric vehicle, right? So it needs to create electricity. So through that braking system, they know that they can do it, but they haven't got the time or the energy to do it, and they ask you, your team, to do it. Go and create that. All right. So you need to explain what the objective is. What's the objective? Well, the objective is to create a new pad braking system for Tesla. Generating ideas, invite design solutions, group some same ideas together. So you can say from the top of your head, and we're going to do that next. From the top of your head, what do you think are the solutions or the possibilities, right? And then you have your project specification, which is set out the rules that you for your assignment, task 2, you can only use to recycle item. And then the purpose, it's a teaching aid. And then the product, proportion. Then you have your project management, the time frame, the process, and then the evaluation criteria sheet. So you need to provide the students with the criteria sheets. There is a criteria sheet available for you on LearnLine, and we're going to see it straight away. Here we are. It's gonna be there. And if you look here, it says grading rubric. You need to click on that grading rubric, and it will appear for you with the comments and the expectations that are listed there. You can also access the assessment 2 rubric here, and you can download it. And here we are. Now, explain with support from the literature. So you need to make sure you're reading the literature from FLIR 2019 on the Design Maker Praise for students and technologies, right? You need to a product that is safe, durable, and childproof. You need to have a clear and brief dot points labels for your PPT, and it's stretching your comfort zone and skill base. This is the most important one. It needs to have reasonable complexities. All right. Without these complexities, then we have a challenge. You may not be able to maximize your score. So the criteria sheet is very important for the students so that they know, they understand how they will be graded. Time frame, 5 weeks. So you need to give the students some time frames about how long they have to make their prototype. And the presentation, marketing, explain to the class. So your presentation is going to be to me, right? And you're trying to sell me your idea, but you're not selling an idea, you're just making it appealing. This is what I did, this is how it works, and you demonstrate your product in action. just here. This is very important. It says video demonstration of operation. Video demonstration of operation must be included. All right. So you need to demonstrate in a video how your prototype is working in real life so that I can assess if it's child-proof, safe, durable. All right. So FLIR 2019 page 40 explains that the design thinking includes conceptual design, technical design, aesthetic design, constructional design, and marketing. So conceptual design is the actual design draft or blueprint that you intend to create. All right. Then you have your technical design is how you're going to do it. You may want to have some instructions. Then your aesthetic, is it going to be beautiful or am I going to leave it in plain cardboard colors? And then your constructional design, which is again your instructions. All right. So during this phase, we need to ideate idea sketches. Okay, we need to draft those sketches. We need to have a model sketch so we reach a final one. We have referential sketches. So referential sketches and idea sketches could be retrieved from Google. You may type in an idea that you have and you can see what emerges or comes out in terms of photos. And this will assist you to design a better process. Okay, operational process, which is how does it operate, and pre-production prototype. Always present your ideas to your client to get some feedback. All right. So we're going to take a pause after this slide here. And this is FLIR 2019 Technologies 35 to 36. So we're using play-based learning, investigate the materials and what they can be used for, create and generate design possibilities. We're doing this in a play-based approach, all right? Because students want to play with technologies to see what they can create, okay? And for you, the most important part is to journal your thinking process. How did you think or how do you think about the design process and the creation of your prototype? Because that journal will eventually be very important for you when you will be teaching. You will have notes, you will have guidelines on how to teach design make appraise. Okay. So at the bottom of the page, we have a phone from 2010. And then from this flip phone, we went to, let's look at iPhone 13. Let's retrieve an image. As you can see here, image. The iPhone 13 or 14 is a flat screen. It's not bendable, right? So we went from this phone to this phone, and I have to say I don't have an iPhone, but I've got an Android phone that is a similar design. It's a square, flat screen, right? Well, interestingly enough, we're back to this design, the flip phone. Back in 2003, we are returning to the flip phone. And what's really interesting is that not only are we returning to the flip phone, but we're going to now we're going to this kind of phone, a double screen. You see we have the single screen that's foldable in half, but now